Hello and welcome back. This is Pernilla Lilla Rose from Divine Feminine Flow. If you would like to check out a little more about what I do, today I want to talk a little more about what I shared a few days ago about how healers and light workers, how we have been hiding because we had to. It all connects back to the main thing, the main theme of what I have been sharing for many years. And that, of course, is true self-love and saying yes to yourself. And when I say yes to yourself, I usually mean it with a capital S, that it is your true self you say yes to. But we can't just get to our true self for the most part, or at least for an extended period of time, without having to meet all the parts, the little S selves, the little self. And they have to be met and they have to be embraced, integrated, and eventually let go of. It's kind of a process. At some point there has been enough healing and softening, love to all these parts that have been living in this solid contraction as if they're separate from the divine. And then at a certain point, it's almost like, excuse me, you just slip out of it somehow. So suddenly the energy, the charge that has been holding us stuck in that energy, it lets go enough, and then you can just slip out of it. Not all of it at once, unless you're very lucky. I don't know anybody who was able to do that, but one layer at a time, and there are many, many layers. So when I talk about saying yes to yourself, there's many, many reasons in all of us that we have not said yes to ourselves, that we have said a clear no to ourselves. And then we have lived in this contraction or this contraption. We have been stuck in this and we have been fighting it because it doesn't feel good to live in this pretending or believing that we are something else, because it's not okay to be who we truly are as divine beings, as divine expressions, as the light of who we are, as our Christ itself. When we look back in history, I think we all know that it didn't work out so well for most of those who did stand up and express and expose their true nature. Many, many were killed. So let's be realistic about it. There is a deep fear, even terror, in, I would say, probably all of us, at least all of us who are on the spiritual path in whatever way that looks. So even though maybe we were not killed ourselves, if there were previous lives where we are experiencing that, we may have experienced it vicariously, right? We may have watched others or know others, or even looking from where we are today, from now, and looking back in time, we can probably all come up with a lot of examples and names whose lives were taken because they stood out. They were not afraid to shine their light. They exposed who they truly are, only to invite others to do the same and to be the same consciously. So that fear that lives in us, I have experienced that in many layers. and I still meet more, so it's not like it's just one little sliver and then it's over. Although it may be for you, and I congratulate you. That's going to be a much easier ride. But I know for myself that that fear of fully being open as light, as love, as divine, that's real. And it has to be met. There is a reason why we are hiding our light. So I can ask you, are you hiding your light? Maybe you're not even aware of it. Maybe you're not even aware of your light because it has been suppressed so deeply that you have lost touch with it. Once we start coming out with the within, we are going to run up against these layers. And again, I don't know if it's true for everybody, but most everybody that I know who is in a place of coming out, with their light, with their truth, with their divinity for many years already, there is this fear, there is this contraction that holds us back from coming out fully. And even though we may come out fully, that does not mean that the contraction and the fear and the terror is not there. I personally am one of those who have been coming out with a lot for many years. I wrote a book. When was that? It's 12 years ago or more, 14 years ago. I don't remember. That was when I started, and that's when I started realizing how scary it was, because that meant now I can be seen. Now I'm going to be exposed. Now people can start judging me, calling me names, making me wrong, all that stuff that is actually real. That is what happens to most people who stand out from the crowd. I think it's called the tall puppy or the underdog. So when you suddenly become a tall puppy and you show yourself, then people can start throwing things at you, right? They can start throwing names at you, maybe rotten tomatoes, anything to make you come down to their level, right? Can you relate to that? It may not be in your experience, and that's totally fine. For many of us who have put ourselves out there and allowed ourselves to be seen through the words we speak, the things we write, maybe some poetry, maybe a painting, maybe dance, music, where that is actually being shown. We are exposing ourselves to be judged, to be stoned, maybe, to be made wrong, to be shamed, just like what I shared in that poem the other day called A Misunderstanding. And I just felt moved to talk a little more about it because it is very real for many, many people these days. And it's as if I can speak from my own experience. It's as if there is this layer. It really feels like a veil that is wrapped around my nervous system to hold myself back. So even though I may be coming out, there is a part that still wants to pull me back and say it's not safe. Remember what happened last time. Remember what happened to other people who have done this. So the more we come out, the more this is going to tighten up until we are able to meet it for what it is. And that is, of course, done through awareness, first becoming aware that, I really am afraid to speak my truth, to say it the way it is, to allow my vulnerability to come out, because people, it's not going to be received well. One of my, I would say the words that come with this contraction is was silenced and I was not allowed to say it. And this feels like probably a few lifetimes where I went through something like that. And that voice remembers, like, you were silenced, Pernilla, or I was silenced, or I was not allowed to speak like that. I was not allowed to be seen in some kind of leader role or authority role. And then it's like, ooh, yeah, I don't quite remember what happened, but it doesn't feel safe. And I think so many of us have that. That is probably also why stage fright is more scary or more real for many people than dying. It's one of the scariest things. So I want to maybe give a little applaud to all those who have been courageous enough to stand up and do it anyway, to move through this fear and this terror and be seen. Doesn't have to be we need to be on a stage or on a YouTube channel. That's not it. It's in every little detail of our lives where we hold back our truth. Ooh, I'm not going to say that. It's not safe to say that. They're not going to listen to me. They're going to tell me I'm crazy. All these things, they live in us so deeply and so tightly, and they actually run our lives. They make us not do things that we really want to do because there is an energy in us that knows something. Could be very small things, but they're there. And if we don't honor them, we are saying no to ourselves. And this is kind of wanted to come full circle with. So I encourage you, everybody, me, to say yes to yourself. And that self with a capital S that lives in you as your soul, as your true self. And that soul self, that is the one that wants to express itself with what it really is, without the limitations, without the memories, without the rules and regulations or what other people think about us. That is the self that we eventually say yes to, fully yes. But we can't do that when there's all these layers of terror, of fear of what might happen if we do speak our truth, even in the smallest things. It could be saying, like, just saying no to somebody who wants you to come and help them or go to the movies or anything like that, where inside you just get like, no, I don't want that. I want to stay home. I want to just be present with myself tonight, or I want to something else. So there is a no there, but it's not being honored. That is what we do all the time until we don't. I remember years ago, so many years ago, I was going to go to the movies with a friend, and I just didn't want to go. I just wanted to stay home. And I had the courage to be honest about it, but I was scared, but I could say it in a way so it was received. So I called my friend and I said, you know what? I just realized that the only reason that I would go to the movies with you is to not to disappoint you. And that doesn't feel right. And so in that sense, she did not feel hurt or rejected. Of course, she would say, no, I don't want you to go if you really don't want to go, and not just do it for me. So let's do it another time when I have a bigger yes to go. And it was so fine. See, nobody was hurt. Everything was fine. I was feeling really good that I honored what was true for me. So I was saying yes to my no, right? And that's what we need to learn, to really say yes when there is a clear no inside, and then honor that. And when we do that, we start dissolving these layers that have kept us separate from our true self with a capital S. And that's when we can start sinking into that more and learn what this self is all about. What is it here for today? This world. Why am I here right now? What is it that wants to be expressed, experienced through and as I? And that's where we can stop and clearly saying no to the things in the world that are absolutely not true for us. So we can slowly start leaving them behind because we are learning what a yes feels like, what a no feels like. And we learn that that is the truth of our soul guiding us through the maze. Yes, no, no, yes. It's a flow. And when you start learning the language of the flow or the sensations of the flow, and that's really what it is, it's like, oh, no. So then that will take you all the way home, which is really here. And then here is really everything. But that can only be experienced when you are here. And because you're saying yes, fully yes to yourself. And you do that by one little yes at a time. And then it grows and it gets easier and it gets more fun and it gets more free. And at a certain point, you don't even know how to not flow with the flow because it just doesn't make sense. So it's just a moment guides you and informs you where you're going. You don't need your mind to figure it out. You don't need to argue with it or doubt it. That disappears the more you learn to listen to and honor your yes to yourself. That means saying yes to when there is a no. Life is completely different. I'm not saying it's always easy because not everybody likes that. But that also falls away where that doesn't matter either anymore. And there's just a freedom to be yourself. And, isn't that what you want?